Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. During price action today, Bitcoin managed to get into 106.5 precisely by the dollar. I'm gonna talk about the setup that we talked about this morning, how things are going, and I'll comment out on this new price action since we have broken recent lows and there's a few signals that are coming up and about to get confirmed. If they stay like that on Sunday, we have a big deal that we need to talk about. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. During the whole week, I've been publishing very frequent and short updates about altcoins. That's precisely what you guys are asking for. I have to say it really helps me to trade better, to find better setups. I hope it's helping you as well, although the views are really miserable. For example, Chainlink has 300 views in 7 hours. That means that probably no one in my audience, with the exception of the hardcore fans, are really watching it. And I think the calls have been pretty good. So far, every single head and shoulders is going for that liquidity hunt. I'm gonna share the post that I shared this morning 10 hours ago with my Patreon community. This went to all the tiers. I'm considering entering a new position and I have 2 new orders in the exchange. The first one was at 106.5, the second one 107.3, which I just decided to cancel in the exchange because unfortunately for me, 106.5, which as you can see on Binance got hit perfectly. Let's actually use the data window to confirm that. The high was 106.524, so $24 beyond my entry, but on bluffing it went $40 below, so I couldn't enter my entry. Luckily for many of the members reported that they managed to enter and to hit the first levels of reward. I also mentioned in the video this morning the level of 102 where we have plenty of liquidity to be hit. So I'm glad that it went well. I spent the day in the beach, so I have a good mood and I didn't get bothered by missing 1 out of 100 opportunities. If you wanna get posts like this and summaries of the videos and the altcoins, make sure that you subscribe one of the 2 tiers. But if you want to go for the elite, next week for the first time, instead of doing TA private session 1 hour on Thursday, just as requested by my community, we're gonna do a Pinescript workshop. We're just literally going to talk about the basics of Pinescript, how to write some scripts, some examples. We're gonna connect that with Absoluto and do a little bit of backtesting, not with the aim of finding something profitable, but mostly with the aim of introducing the tools to people that want to learn a little bit more. In order to join this is going to be on Thursday, 1 hour, and we're going to do it every last Thursday of the month. The rest of Thursdays is going to remain being the usual TA session. That is exclusive for the elite members. Quinten is saying that the Bitcoin demand is the most negative since on record, even more than during the bear market, and yet Bitcoin is at 105k, which I find extraordinary. I'm not sure if this is really on-chain demand measured by actual wallet buys and not perpetuals, not contracts, because thanks to the ETFs and all of that, there is not a lot of move in the actual network. There are not enough fees for the miners. That's why we get so many capitulations very frequently, but that's a topic for another video. I was today checking the charts. Luckily, from the beach, I had access to Telegram. TradingView was working like crap with just 1 bar of signal, but on Telegram, I was able to pull all the charts and see them in real time whenever I wanted to, even though I was getting the usual elbow to stop doing that and to enjoy spending some time in the beach, which, yeah, makes sense. But I noticed that today we were below the green support, so we need to look at that. I haven't been able to do my homework and update the Bitcoin status, so let's do it in here. I was talking about the bearish breakdown and a potential revenge move. Did we do that? Let's see. Well, that was something that I will say counts as a revenge, because intra-candle it got really close to our level of 62. Possibly it managed to get into 60, somewhere here in the middle, and right after that it got completely dumped as soon as it hits 106.5. All that momentum managed to break 1 level down, which is something that we haven't done since the 18th of June, 2 days ago, and we get another breakdown. we have 40 minutes from the time I'm recording is 9:20 UTC plus 2 to regain the support on the 4-hour to have some chances to attempt it again. Staying below here, that means that the bulls are really exhausted and are due for a continuation down. Looking at the price action, the first line of defense of the bears, remember that this morning the video was called "The Bears are defending 106 test and critical support levels." So precisely that was happening with the VWAPs in here, defending the first line of defense. The second line of defense was 107.3, which obviously we never hit. The first line of defense was enough to push the price 4K down. That was a sweet move after all this time. I was waiting for it. I sent the article and I missed it by $40. It can happen. The beauty is that I share all these insights and there is full transparency, right? Whenever I watch even my favorite traders, they don't show anything. They just claim things. They have screenshots of trades and stuff. I actually don't mind missing one trade and sharing it. After all, I really want you to get an idea of the real trading feeling so you feel that you are not really alone in this. Let's make it and keep it real, authentic. On the daily, you can see that now we're pinching the support. As I mentioned before, the green support on this trend line at 45 we were talking, it's actually being pinched at 44.85. Let's update that. And that is 103.3, which this morning we say we need to come back up above that, reclaim it on a daily basis so we can carry on hammering to the upside. But you can see the area of the rejection was precisely the top of the range. So we've been up, we try once again, and now we try once again. There's been so many attempts to continue with the breakout to the upside, but I think that the summer blues, the usual seasonal dampiness of summer is kind of, starting to break the price, in my opinion. I think we have a good chance that we go to the point of control. Of course, it's not guaranteed. Don't take my word. Don't take a trade on just a finger in the air tonight. Let's look at the next target. So from these lows, if we carry on lower, the point of control is at 96.6. But that 25 support on the RSI has moved up into 91.6. Remember that it's been as low as 87. So now moving into 91.5, that is almost 5K higher thanks to the move down of the momentum. If we close like this on a weekly basis, this is a full breakdown of the support of 104.4. And at that point, we increase the likelihood that we really go into the bull market support band that is located at 96.5 at this point. We are pinching once again the CPR levels of June. We already did multiple times. Indeed, the past week we've been constantly pinching the level. So let's talk about CME because we are going into the weekend. Today is Friday and there's just maybe an hour or so before CME goes offline. Let's say it goes with a closing price of 103K. That means if over the weekend things are positive, Trump posts any positive tweet, that's gonna cause a pump over the weekend and it's gonna leave a massive ugly weekend CME gap from 103. It could pump into 110 or whatever, assuming there's something really positive that people get excited about. For the bulls, the ideal is that we get a CME price close as high as possible. For the bears, the lowest possible, of course, so you feel confident that you can short whatever, and if it pumps, it's gonna come from where it came from. We continue in the neutral at 54 with the Fear and Greed Index, and we need to talk about Cerberus because Cerberus at these prices, if we remain here or lower, we could print finally that sell signal. Notice the performance of a previous signal, sell during a bull market. You get it once you have already dumped, okay? So it's not a tradable signal. It's not something that in a bear market I will say, okay, here I'm going to enter a short. In a bull market, a sell signal is usually late. For example, you get a sell here and it goes sideways, right? So yeah, you can take profits of 28%, but that is just one out of many that fail in a bull market. It doesn't really fail. I understand what a sell from Cerberus means. But if you interpret it literally, it's the wrong thing to do. The buys and the warning buys open the door for looking for longs. The warning sells, the golden sells, open the door for get out or be more careful with taking longs. And that's precisely what we've been doing in this range in here, just like we did with the golden sell on all this area, and just like we did with the golden sell on all this area, right? And when we start getting those warning buys, we start looking for entries to go back up. So, summarizing, if we settle the sell by Sunday, we just keep the eyes open for when we get a warning buy or a buy. Let's assume just for a second, and don't throw anything at the screen, but imagine we were entering a bear market tonight. A sell signal prints at around 58k in November 2021, and from there it goes down 74% without any move up from there. This other sell signal around the 48k, continuation to the downside. So those sell signals, I do take them very serious during the bear market. During the bull market, the opposite. Right, let's go with the trade. We had this symmetrical triangle today. We took about this moving to 106.5. I said I'm looking for a short within this area or slightly higher from 107. I shared it with my community shortly after. I don't know if it leaked, if it went to some big people, but precisely after I posted that, this started dumping like crazy, and I was looking at my order being about to be hit, and then it didn't. But we hit all the targets. We went beyond the final target, and there is still this liquidity in here that has been hit slightly at 102.2, and there is all of that, and of course there is the 100k, which is the biggest below the price. If we compare that 100k with the top of 111, yeah, that is more definitely, but now to go to 111 we need to move 7.7k, whereas to hit 100 we just need to move less than 3k. Is that basically guaranteeing that we hit 100k? Well, now no one ever is guaranteed. You need to learn to trade with uncertainties. If you cannot, just don't trade, hold. Maybe take a week, go for a long walk and think, how the hell can I trade with uncertainties, probabilities, not really knowing what's going to happen? There's plenty of books that talk about that. And people might think, oh, but you knew that 106,500 was going to go down. That's why you took that trade. No, I have no damn clue that 106,500 was going to go down. I only understood that there was a decent chance. I could have been wrong, and I had to manage my risk of that. And if I was wrong, I am wrong. Let's look at the defense that the bulls are putting around these levels. Of course, I'm interested to see if they're going to manage to push the price back up above 104.4 and rescue the weekly from a breakdown within the previous range, because that is going to be really intense. Not that in summers we don't do that. We usually do those things on summers. Welcome to summer Bitcoin. This is the way it goes most of the time. What can I say? And 111 is still very, very heavy. I'm still wondering if Trump tweeting over the weekend can hit 111, since there's so many shorts there. I wonder as well how heavy is that, and if price can really dump from here, having all of those dudes making a big win. These kind of things keep me thinking. And this morning we were looking at 103.2 and we were saying, now that suddenly became way larger than 111, as you can see in here. Now let's refresh and let's see if this has flipped or if we are in the same situation. Now we got back the 111, of course, being larger just because that got hit. So when you hit a level and you go to 102, that doesn't necessarily mean that all liquidity is fully gone, because new positions are open. So your natural question should be, are those positions still very big relative to what there is here? Because if it is really big, then we still have petrol to go lower. If it's small and insignificant, then the market maker says, okay, I'm done with this. I'm now gonna go and head back up, which takes a lot of effort, but there's not much interest in here, so I have to go the other way around. Of course, that also is influenced by the sentiment and the events and stuff like that. It's not like market maker just chases the next big thing by itself, but definitely has a big influence in the decisions. In terms of liquidations, it's very important that we see here how big are the liquidations. For example, on the 5th of June, we got 827 in total longs liquidated. Then in here we have two chunks of 12 hours with liquidations, one 486 followed by 527. In total is more than this, right? So we have an increase. And today, so far, we have only 367. So that keeps me as well wondering if market maker is really done with this and they're gonna feel satisfied with just liquidating 367, or is it the case that there is not that much there because there is a swing low at around 100? And that is the thing. We've been there on the 5th of June. We took liquidity from 100, 200, and we went up, right? So you can see the red starts from that low and it goes up until precisely 100K. So what do we have below that? We have up until 99, and in the longer term, let's zoom in very closely. Let's just focus on this area. Let's focus on 13th of June. This is 17 and this is 5th of June. So we took that red and we left. Let's move the red out of the screen just so we can normalize what we have in here. So we have a decent chunk from 99 into 98 that precedes that move there. It's been there from before, obviously, because we didn't touch below that. And then we have liquidity from 95 into 93.6. So I think the biggest one is around 95K. Let's look at the order book. What are the purple whales doing? Well, as I say in the morning, they were not very interested. They are the leading ones. They decide direction of price, and you can see that they've been pointing down and they had no interest. With the move down now into 102, do you see them interested? No, the brown ones are interested, but unfortunately not very frequently the brown ones are directing the price. It's the purple ones that get the job done, and they hold positions that are smaller than the brown ones, which is something odd, but that it is the case. Looking at the chart, specifically the CBD, we can see that aggressive sellers were dumping literally with market orders from 106.5. And that resistance that we were looking in the morning in the ask came exactly at that level. And as soon as it started dumping, the defense came back at 0.13, which is pretty decent. But let's look closely at the bid-ask ratio. Deviations of 10%, 1, 2, and 5 are the ones I'm tracking. And the 10% at the moment has the least defense. It's only at a percentile of 51. So not really a lot of orders below 10% of the price defending a deeper correction. Even less than one we have around the 19th of June. So definitely there is a change there in the order depth, which is not necessarily bullish. The defense that's coming in here at the current prices is below 5% of the price. That has a percentile of 79, which is pretty high, followed by the 2% next to the price at a 70% defense. That means that at 2 and at 5% there are good decent chunks of limit orders relative to what there is equivalent on the upper end at the same deviations of 2 and 5. At 1% we have 63. So in a nutshell, there is defense but very close to the price. If that defense can get penetrate, and don't get too excited with my wording, that means this weekend or early next week it can get broken much more easily than if we have around the 10% loss of orders. Orders don't need to get filled to produce psychological effect. When people see that there is tons of buying interest below the price, they get a lot more confident to go and buy, including myself. We're back to having the shorts at a higher risk with 473K. So let's see if that and the defense that they're putting out here, the longs, can bring the price back into the median at around 104 within the weekend. We have a fair value gap that goes from 104.2 into 105.7, and we managed to take the fair value gap that we were talking about this morning at the lower end. We just left one in here, 102.2. So it's a very tough one now to decide whether this is gonna first take that remaining bit and then go for the fat one to not leave it behind. Notice that during this flag before going down, we went up to take first that fair value gap before going for the ones at the bottom end. And thanks to the aggressive sellers, we left one here pretty big. In terms of general markets, it continues to not look really great. We spent the whole week just trying to do the breakout, trying to come back down. So let's have a look at the charts and see how are we potentially closing tonight. So we have the Nasdaq potentially putting a lower low relative to the close of the past week, and on S&P, and we are in a similar situation, and that is really entering into the gray area of the rejection. For example, on this symbol, S&P shows a rejection, whereas on this one is slightly above the line. If I allow myself to place it like this, yeah, it's a breakout, but it's very shallow. VIX, well, it remains like a double bottom of support, calling for expansion and dump of the market, whereas S&P is still in an area that can continue breaking out. What can we do? It's been just extremely frustrating, this trading range. It's been 5 weeks of just staying there with all those expectations of a breakout, but it doesn't really happen. Guys, the weather is really good, and tomorrow I'm probably gonna go again to the beach. We're having, I think, 28 degrees, which is completely unprecedented for where I live here in UK in the north, and I definitely have to take advantage of that. So if there is really not much price action on Saturday, I'm gonna skip that update and do a Sunday alpha to compensate the day after. If you want to support the channel, really give a like and watch the videos about the altcoins. Share it out there on Twitter with your friends. I'm very confident that there is a lot of value there. It's just that the YouTube algorithm is not showing my channel to anybody. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.